So we've learned a lot about the Netherlands in the last little bit here on FTD Facts. We've learned a lot about what is great about the country and, most obvious, its military divisions. And with that, I've found that the Dutch, although maybe a small force, are a capable fighting force who strive for peace and security. And today we continue to add to our playlist on the military divisions of the Netherlands and learn as much as we can about the paratroopers and the airborne of this country. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to FTD Facts, the channel where I look at people, cultures, and places, and militaries from all around the world. My name is Dave Walpole, and if it's your first time here and you guys are liking this content already, you're going, hey, wait, somebody's actually talking about the paratroopers from the Netherlands, the Dutch ones? Yo, I like that stuff. You want to hit that subscribe button because that's the kind of stuff I'm doing. And also with that, just letting you guys know, you're probably already into military stuff and you might be already from the Netherlands. I've got some playlists around all the different divisions that I've talked about. I've talked about like the Air Force, the Navy, the Army itself, how much power the country it has. I'm going to put some cards in the video that you guys could check out at any time throughout this video. But before you guys skip out and go learn there, you want to chill here and learn about the paratroopers because that's what this video is about. So to dive right into it, what are paratroopers and what do they do? Well, basically they are specialized troops that learn how to jump out of planes, land on the ground. They sometimes are all about recon, going behind enemy lines, and basically doing what a GI does, but dropping out from a plane. Of course, I'm not saying they're like GIs, there's a lot more specialization in the things that they do, but I'm just giving that as a good example to everybody else who has no idea what they are. However, within the Netherlands, there is one major paratrooper group, and that is the 11th Airmobile Brigade. Of course, that does not mean that they are the only guys that paradrop and do airborne exercises and operations. Nah, as a matter of fact, there's a few other groups in the Netherlands military that are also trained in airborne attack or airborne defense. I guess that would also come into play as well. For example, parachuting and aerial insertion drops are common in the special forces group known as the Korps Commando Troepen, and even the Netherlands Marine Corps, or the Corps Marinair, have a history in airborne activities. And just so you know, in that military playlist that I told you about, I've done a video on them, just to let you guys know for that military playlist. And to give you an example of how it works within the Marine Corps, they actually have one unit in their 1st and 2nd Marine Combat Group. And these two groups are known as the 11th and 23rd Parachute Raiding Squadrons. But before I get into looking at the modern aspect of the paratroopers within the country, I want to look at its history. Now, one major downside is that the paratroop sort of division and that sort of history is really clouded. Also, it's really hard to find a lot of images on these guys, so when you're watching this video, just keep in mind not all of the footage and images you will see in the video are going to have the actual paratroopers in it because it's hard to find footage. However, as for the parachuting history, it evolved out of the commando units even as far back as World War II. This is because many of the Dutch troops were trained at Achnaharry in Scotland during the Second World War. Because the Dutch commandos that were trained here were part of what is known as the 10 Inter-Allied Commando Unit. And more specifically, they were known as the No. 2 Dutch Troop, and were originally formed with 63 men. As for the paratrooper history itself, it was in May of 1943 that the No. 10 Inter-Allied Commando Unit were trained in parachuting in Eastbourne, UK. One really interesting thing about this when it comes to these type of commando units, they were not normally trained in parachuting. But because times had changed, the whole unit was actually trained at the No. 1 Parachuting Training School that was part of the RAF and was located in Ringway, UK. As a matter of fact, when it comes to Ringway in 1940 to 1946, it's said that it trained anywhere between 60,000 airborne troops. It was quite large for its time and world-renowned. And of course, of these 60,000 troops, many came from all parts of the world, and yes, the Dutch were trained here as well. Now, shortly after this group was formed and was trained, they were taking part in what was known as Operation Market Garden, in which during the Second World War, Operation Market Garden was the largest airborne offensive in history at the time. Now, for the Dutch, when they were there, they acted as more or less liaisons for the rest of the Allied troops. But eventually, by 1945, this group evolved into what was known as the Corps Special Troepen, or the KST. KST, not D, KST. And basically, this was the country's real official first airborne unit. Partially because the country itself had been liberated and it was back to its original power, and now it had its own airborne unit. Now, of course, the KST was a rather large group. They specialized in many different things, but within it, they had the number 1 parachute company. This group also worked separate from the KST, and because of that, they identified themselves by wearing red or maroon berets. The rest of the company actually wore green berets, so that's how you could tell them apart. Now, the first major parachuting school that was part of the Netherlands was known as SOP, and it operated out of the Andir Air Base in Bandung, Indonesia. And one of the first operations that the number 1 parachute company was a part of was Operation Cry. I think that's how you pronounce it. Maybe it's Cray, Kraai. Now, the first battle of this operation was on December 19th, 1948. This was when the Dutch paratroopers landed on the airfield of Maguwo. And in total, they say there was about 900 troops that took part in this battle, and they jumped out of the Douglas D-73s, in which the Netherlands had 23 of them during this battle. Of course, now this battle was won in 25 minutes flat. It was crazy. Keep in mind, though, they were only up against 47 light infantry units, so they really didn't stand much of a competition. After that, they continued to be mobilized in Indonesia in the Battle of Yogyakarta. And of course, fighting for this group lasted until there was a ceasefire between Indonesia and the Dutch in 1949. After this, though, in 1949, the KST pretty much merged everything together. And yes, this included the number 1 parachute company, which there was about 250 men. This was because after the independence war of Indonesia, they realized that because the regular KST and the KST number 1 parachute company had dropped together, they should just merge them into one unit. However, though, this wasn't meant to be for long because both of these units were part of the KNIL, which was the Royal Netherlands East Indian Army, and because of that, the KNIL and these units were disbanded on July 26th, 1950. However, of course, that didn't mean that parachuting just ended completely in the Netherlands. No, it actually lived on in many other units within the country. Like I stated, there were those 2 individual units that were part of the Marines. That was the 11th and the 22nd Parachuting Rating Squadron. This is because they act as a Special Forces operation group under the MARSOF and are trained in parachuting. But of course, that was for the Navy because the Army itself did not have a dedicated parachuting group until the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Because it was shortly after that that the Netherlands realized that they were in need of paratroopers. And it was in 1992 that they moved forward and created what is known as the 11th Air Maneuver Brigade. And as for the troops in the beginning of the 11th Air Maneuver Brigade, most of them were all volunteers. And one crazy part is it wasn't until 2003 that this group was pretty much cleared for operational effectiveness. By the way, they're also called the 11th Air Mobile Brigade in case some people are getting confused. Partially because I mentioned that earlier, it's just a different way of saying it. As a matter of fact, one people actually also identify this group as the replacement as the number 1 KST parachuting company. This is because they also even wear the same red or maroon berets. And as well, one interesting thing is that on their emblems, they have EM, which stands for Expeditionary Force, which is also a bit of a tip to the hat to a group that was disbanded in 2004. As for the 11th Air Mobile Brigade, they say in today's world, there's about 4,500 troops. And of course, they are also considered a rapid reaction force, meaning they can be deployed anywhere in the globe and have enough equipment and food to operate in the field for 72 hours straight. Currently, their main garrison is located at the D-Land Air Base and the Orange Barracks, which is in Scharsbergen-Assen. And as for them, they all fall under the command of Brigade General Ron Smits. Keep in mind, as of June 2014, most of these troops now actually work with the Germans. The 11th Air Mobile Brigade is under what you would call a German Army Rapid Force Division, meaning that when it's necessary, these two groups will work together. However, they are under German command. And of course, that also means both countries have to agree to deploy this force. So say the Netherlands says, I want to go, and Germany says no, well, they can't really do that. However, they did say there were plans on having this group operational up and running in 2018, so I don't know as of the status on it. So It could be still in the works. It could be happening right now. I don't really know. Either way, guys, that is me looking at the Netherlands paratroopers. I know it's not a lot of information like our other videos, but this is the best I could find for you guys. So I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. And if you guys are really liking this content and you want to learn more about, you know, military history or just military divisions of the Netherlands, you Dutch folk out there, well, be sure to hit this playlist right here, because it's just some good stuff. It's also down there in the description box below if it didn't appear up there, and it'll be at the end of the video for you guys. But other than that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification, and don't forget to leave a suggestion down there in the comments box, because we love hearing from you guys. But thanks for watching. I'm Dave Wapla, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out. Okay, so here you go, guys. Here is the playlist that you can check out on the Netherlands military. By the way, if you also just want to learn about the Netherlands as a whole, it's a really awesome, amazing country. Feel free to check out our Netherlands playlist. It's just about the country and some great facts about it. So have yourself a good day, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.